Main event of the evening.
These days are
Hello and welcome to These Days Are Ours, a Happy Days podcast. I'm Peter.
And I'm Joe.
And today we are discussing the pilot to the 1979 sitcom Working Stiffs, co-created by Bob Brunner.
Okay, Peter, tell us what happens in the pilot for Working Stiffs.
Unemployed brothers Ernie and Michael Rourke visit the office building owned by their Uncle Harry, believing they'll be made partners in his business. Ernie is confident in their chances, while Mike doubts their ability to keep their jobs once they get them.
What do we know about working in an office building?
Hey, what's the need to know?
They end up fooling around with a pair of plastic face guards, which Ernie claims are protecting people from spit, until they're interrupted by the arrival of Uncle Harry. Ernie claims they're there for a business deal.
Well, I'm always looking for a good deal. Here's the deal. You give us a job.
Harry has a rule against hiring relatives, but Ernie claims he promised he would at Mike's first communion when he was 7. Harry says he was drunk at Mike's first communion, but when Mike claims it's a mortal sin not to keep a first communion promise, Harry allows himself to be persuaded to hire them on.
That's good.
As janitors.
That's bad.
Ernie and Mike's boss, Charles Pressman, gives them their first job, all the while warning them not to do anything to throw the well-oiled machine that is his building out of order.
If it was up to me, you wouldn't be janitors right now. So from now on, you'll have to please me, not your uncle.
They bring a new file cabinet up to one of the offices by strapping it to Mike's back like a backpack, which Mike isn't too happy with.
You're really making this hard on me, you know that?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I only think of myself.
That's right.
Terry Taylor, an office worker, meets them, and Ernie takes the time to hit on her.
Terry Taylor, with an I.
Oh, that's classy. I'm Ernie O'Rourke. O-apostrophe.
Pressman arrives, none too happy that the brothers are dawdling here when they have more jobs to do. Back in Pressman's office, Ernie and Mike claim that their uncle has always spoken highly of him.
My brother Ernie and I are just real glad to be working under your guidance, you big palooka. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pressman is flattered, but Ernie and Mike take it too far by speculating on whether James Caan or Warren Beatty would be a better fit for a hypothetical movie about him. Pressman sees through them, and tells the brothers that from now on, they can think of the workplace as a Turkish prison. Their next task is to change a light bulb in a clock.
Now, do you think you could handle something as simple as, changing a light bulb?
No sweat.
The catch is that the clock is on the outside of the building, and they have to climb out a window, multiple floors up to get to it. As they make their way across the side of the building with a ladder, Ernie briefly gets stuck on a flagpole.
All right, listen to me.
What? You got an idea?
No, Ernie, I just want to tell you that I've always loved you, Ernie, and I always will, no matter what happens to you.
But they make it to the clock. Mike climbs onto its face and tries to move the hands, only for it to start moving on its own and start donging. When both brothers end up hanging from the hands, Pressman opens a door inside the face, which they could have used the entire time. Back in Pressman's office, he triumphantly fires them.
Well, boys, I hate to say this, but... No, actually, I'm going to enjoy saying this. You're fired.
Mike tries to spin it around on him. Pressman tried to kill them by not telling them not to use the ledge to get to the clock. Pressman vows that instead of firing them, he'll make them quit. Forget Turkish prison, this will be their devil's island.
The Panther brothers slipped through the noose again, eh?
Once Pressman leaves them alone, Ernie laments that they can't do the job and they'll never be anybody.
We stink.
Sure, Mike has ideas, but Ernie's just a dope. Mike tells Ernie he's a guy who gets things done, and ideas are nothing without doers. They're basically the Wright brothers. Ernie is successfully snapped out of his funk. Back in their apartment, Ernie makes dinner, and Mike comes home with a newspaper. Their misadventure on the clock made the front page.
They bumbled about, totally ignoring a simple door on the clock's face. A bystander was heard to say, "Boy, you talk about stupid."
Ernie decides to make copies.
Thank you, Peter. That was Working Stiffs. That pilot is sometimes called the preview presentation or day one. It first aired on Saturday, September 15th, 1979 on CBS.
This fall, meet two aspiring janitors, two brothers who will bumble, stumble, and fumble their way into your hearts. Michael Keaton and Jim Belushi are two Working Stiffs. Saturday.
The network was airing its special preview week at that time. Working Stiffs was followed by the second season premiere of The Bad News Bears, a sitcom based on the hit 1976 movie of the same name. The Bad News Bears episode was directed by Lowell Gans's brother Jeffrey and written by Jeffrey with Happy Days writer Brian Levant. In this episode, one of the Bears gets a baseball signed by Johnny Bench, but his teammate loses it after claiming to know Bench personally. ABC aired the second season premiere of The Ropers. In this episode, Stanley decides to throw a surprise party for his wife. Naturally, he invites the gang from Three's Company to attend, but Helen is suspicious when her husband starts taking dancing lessons. And NBC aired a rerun of its mega hit, Chips. In this episode, Ponch and John come to the rescue of an independent trucker who is being harassed by the competition. So, Peter, do any of those shows appeal to you? Would you have watched any of that?
I guess if the cast of Three's Company is appearing, I would have watched The Ropers. The existence of The Ropers as a show is very funny to me because, yes, do you want to watch an entire show about the unhappy, sexually dysfunctional married couple from Three's Company?
Ropers spun off after the third season. It was in the contract with ABC that they would be allowed to spin off that show if they wanted to, and they wanted to.
Working Stiffs was a ratings disaster and lasted only 4 short weeks on the CBS schedule, even though 9 episodes were produced. Some of the remaining episodes premiered on A&E in 1987 and were released on home video as well after Jim Belushi and Michael Keaton became famous. And Peter, to me, that shows how the TV industry had changed from the 1960s to the 1970s. We just reviewed Hey Landlord, which was allowed to flounder on the schedule for 31 weeks, and Working Stiffs didn't even last 31 days. Do you think CBS was too hasty? Should they have given it more time?
All things considered, I'm glad that they didn't, considering that the cast would go on to bigger and better things.
Speaking of which, this pilot was directed by Penny Marshall. This was very early in Penny's directing career. In fact, she had only directed 1 episode of Laverne and Shirley when this originally aired. Her feature film directing career didn't start until 1986, when she was hired at the last minute to direct the troubled action comedy Jumpin' Jack Flash, starring Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg in Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Penny went on to such films as Big, Awakenings, and A League of Their Own. She died in 2018 at the age of 75. Peter, how would you rate Penny Marshall as a director based on this episode?
This is a pretty solid episode of a sitcom.
I would agree. By this point, Penny was obviously very familiar with how sitcoms work, so this doesn't require too much from her as a director. The pilot was written by Mark Sotkin. Mark is a TV writer-producer from New Jersey who worked on many popular sitcoms of the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
He got his start on Blansky's Beauties and Laverne and Shirley, then went on to It's a Living, The Golden Girls, the show for which he's most well known, Charles in Charge, The Sinbad Show, and more.
Mark maintains a steady online presence these days and even has his own YouTube channel, and he does a lot of interviews. But people are always asking him about the Golden Girls, and they're not asking him about Working Stiffs, unfortunately. Working Stiffs was created by Bob Brunner and Arthur Silver with Mark Sotkin and Harry Colomby. We've talked about Bob many times.
His collaborations with Gary Marshall go back to The Odd Couple and extend to Gary's post-Happy Days feature films like Exit to Eden and The Other Sister.
Bob was one of the most important Happy Days writers, famous for creating the nickname Fonzie and writing the Jump the Shark episode. He was actually showrunner for several seasons. He died in 2012 at the age of 78. We've also talked about Arthur Silver numerous times. He's the writer of Fonzie Loves Pinky and other episodes.
He also worked on Joni Loves Chachi, Blansky's Beauties, and Laverne and Shirley.
Harry Colomby was a writer, producer, and talent manager from Berlin, Germany. He was Michael Keaton's manager at the time of this episode.
Oh, how convenient.
And produced several of Michael's subsequent movies, including
Johnny Dangerously, Mr. Mom, and The Squeeze, as well as Michael's TV series Report to Murphy.
Harry died in 2021. He was 92 years old. And I think it's high time, Peter, that we finally acknowledged a guy named Nick Abdo, who was listed as an executive consultant on this episode.
Nick is a Los Angeles-born TV and film producer who started working with Gary Marshall on The Odd Couple. He went on to Laverne, Shirley, Happy Days, and Blansky's Beauties, and then followed Gary right into his film career, working on pretty much all of the Marshall films from Young Doctors in Love to Exit to Eden.
As for our main cast, let's start with our series regulars. We have Jim Belushi as Ernie O'Rourke.
Stop using the word janitor, okay? We're maintenance men.
Jim is a Chicago-born comedian and actor who grew up in the shadow of his older brother John before finding fame on Saturday Night Live and his own sitcom, according to Jim, as well as the films K-9 and Red Heat, among many others. This sitcom occurred very early in his career. Before starring on Working Stiffs, Jim was a regular on Gary Marshall's previous series, Who's Minding the Kids? A few years after this, he guested on Laverne and Shirley with Penny Marshall.
Peter, what did you think of Jim Belushi as Ernie O'Rourke?
I'm sure that Jim Belushi drew on his own experiences of being overshadowed by his more famous, more charismatic brother for this role.
Toga, 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 2000.
All joking aside, he is a good fit for this character. Ernie's thing is that he's a would-be huckster who is not as smart as he thinks he is, and who kind of bumbles into things. I think that Belushi plays the character well. I think he makes him funny without being pathetic per se. I don't think he quite handles the big emotional scene at the end quite as well, but sitcoms had to have those by 1979, I guess.
I guess they do. This show takes a turn dramatically toward the end of the episode. Do you know what sitcom writers call that moment in every sitcom?
What do they call it?
They call it the moment of shit. I learned that from an article in Rolling Stone. I'm sorry, that's the term. I would say that Jim Belushi does a good job with a limited role here, but I think there's a problem in the way that the show is cast and written. As the show goes on, there is some effort to distinguish Ernie and Mike as having different personalities or different roles within their family, like it's an older brother who bullies the younger brother, or one is the doer and one is the thinker. But I don't think there is quite enough to distinguish Ernie and Mike in this episode. Keep in mind that Jim Belushi and Michael Keaton were not famous when this show was made, so they kind of look alike, and they dress like each other, and they talk like each other.
They laugh alike, they walk alike, at times they even talk alike.
It would be difficult for the average viewer to tell them apart. I think in most comedy teams, there's more of an effort to distinguish the two people in the team.
Normally, in a team, they're complete opposites. They seemingly have nothing in common.
And these guys have way too much in common. We also have Michael Keaton as Mike O'Rourke.
Fired?
Michael, whose real name is Michael Douglas, is a highly acclaimed and successful actor from Coriopolis, Pennsylvania, who has worked in TV and film from the mid-1970s to the present. He got his start as a production assistant on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood before guest starring on Maude and Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. He also worked alongside David Letterman on Mary Tyler Moore's short-lived variety series. Michael truly broke through in 1982 with his role in Ron Howard's Night Shift, where he starred alongside Henry Winkler. This led to a slew of iconic films, including
Mr. Mom, Johnny Dangerously, Gung Ho, Beetlejuice, The Dream Team, Clean and Sober, and of course Batman.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Michael has remained very active in the 21st century with movies like Spotlight, The Founder, and Birdman. Peter, what did you think of Michael Keaton as Mike O'Rourke?
Much like Jim Belushi as Ernie, he is playing a character whose thing is that he is not as smart as he thinks he is. He is maybe a little bit more easily taken advantage of, like when he's the one who carries the file cabinet up the stairs. I guess they don't have elevators there. He gets an absolutely spectacular amount of laughter and applause during the big comedic set piece with the clock. It is astonishing. Maybe that's the real moment where Michael Keaton became a star. I think that he handles the moment of shit a little bit better than Jim Belushi does, but I think that's mostly just because he's not the one who has to be sad in that scene.
Michael Keaton shows a lot of potential in this series. He had not reached his full potential yet, but he was definitely on his way to becoming a very charismatic actor. I thought it was interesting that Mike O'Rourke defines himself as an idea man.
An idea man is nothing without a doer by his side.
Because that is exactly how his character in Night Shift defines himself.
I'm an idea man, Chuck.
I can definitely see why he was cast in this role. He's very energetic. He gives pretty sharp line reads. Again, though, I just don't think he looks different enough from Jim Belushi, at least in 1979.
I would also like to give a shout out to the line, why do older brothers always pick on younger brothers? Which is a very natural way of conveying that they are brothers and that Ernie is older than Mike. That is definitely a way that siblings talk to each other.
Speaking of which, do you think they were trying to turn "what are you going to do about it" into the show's catchphrase?
Oh, wow, maybe.
What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it?
As for our guest stars in this episode, none of whom go on to the rest of the series, we have Michael Conrad as Uncle Harry.
Nobody will be working for you. You'll be working for him. He hires and fires whomever he wants.
Michael was a New York character actor familiar to all fans of 1980s TV as Sergeant Phil Esterhaus on Hill Street Blues, where he became famous for his catchphrase, "Let's be careful out there."
Let's be careful out there. 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 Let's be careful out there.
Michael worked extensively in film and TV from the mid-1950s to the early 1980s. You could have seen him on
The Twilight Zone, All in the Family, The Incredible Hulk, The $6 Million Man, The Dick Van Dyke Show, Perry Mason, Bonanza, The Rockford Files, Mission Impossible, and many more.
His movies include The Longest Yard, They Shoot Horses, Don't They?, and Scream, Blackula Scream. He died of cancer in 1983 at the age of 58. Peter, what did you think of Michael Conrad as Uncle Harry?
He does a good job at conveying authority and a sense that this is someone who is worthy of respect, which is why it is very funny when he admits that he was drunk for his nephew's first communion. Of course, it is funny that he basically just allows himself to be convinced to hire them. You really can't believe that that's really a sin, dude.
I was just so thrown off by seeing the guy from Hill Street Blues on the sitcom. I so strongly associated him with his character on that show that it was difficult to see him as any other kind of character. I think Michael Conrad gives a pretty solid performance as well. He definitely seems convincingly exasperated with his two dumbass nephews. Do you think Uncle Harry should have been a character on the ongoing show?
Maybe it would make sense given that he apparently works at their workplace, but at the same time, it does kind of feel like he's there for obligatory reasons and most of their conflict is going to be with Pressman. So,
Well, speaking of that, we also have Neil Thompson as Charles Pressman.
And be careful. Remember, I'll be watching you.
Neil is an actor, writer, and producer from Ames, Iowa, who is known to a generation of comedy fans as the news anchor in the Kentucky Fried Movie.
The popcorn you're eating has been pissed in. Film at 11.
A role for which he beat out David Letterman. As a character actor, Neil turned up on such TV shows as
Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, MASH, The Love Boat, and even The Richard Pryor Show.
He also wrote episodes of Happy Days and Police Squad and served as a writer-producer on shows like Malcolm in the Middle, Caroline in the City, Night Court, and Webster. Peter, what did you think of Neil Thompson as Charles Pressman?
he is delightful. I love characters who are so square that they kind of loop back to being absolute freaks about it, and I would say that Pressman counts here. I loved his blatant dislike for the brothers from the beginning. I love that he was almost taken in when they started talking about how their uncle has always talked about how much he likes and respects him. I love the fact that he says that he's going to turn this place into a Turkish prison.
Because you know what they do to guys in Turkish prisons, don't you? Huh? Don't you? Huh?
My first exposure to the kind of problematic Turkish prison joke was an Airplane, where it was meant to imply that the pilot is gay.
Joey, have you ever been in a Turkish prison?
Were they trying to convey that Pressman is gay?
It could be.
I thought Neil Thompson was quite funny. I was disappointed to learn that he was not part of the regular series. They do acknowledge his absence on the series. They say that Charlie Pressman is away and his replacement is there.
I can't wait for Pressman to get back. And Steckler's a rotten boss.
Last but not least, we have Kate Zental as Terry.
Oh, very fine. The cabinet got here. Get it off the desk, will you? It's a little big to be a paperweight.
Kate is an actress who worked mainly in television from the mid-1970s to the early 2000s. She guested on such shows as
Cheers, Night Court, Becker, Party of Five, Newhart, LA Law, St. Elsewhere, Webster, It's a Living, Hunter, Knots Landing, and more.
Her movies include Once Bitten and The Star Chamber. I know we don't see that much of Kate Zental in this episode, but did she make any impression on you anyway?
I feel like they could have done more with her and Ernie, just in the sense of how is she feeling about this new employee hitting on her while his brother is carrying a file cabinet on his back. So you don't really get the sense that she's super strict or super permissive or anything.
I think they were maybe trying to set up something between Ernie and Terry that was going to be developed in future episodes, but they don't get around to it. Maybe Kate was not disappointed when she wasn't added to the regular cast. As for the music in this episode, the score is by John Kakavas, a composer from Aberdeen, South Dakota, who worked on dozens of films and TV shows from the 1970s to the 1990s. He's probably best known for his work on the 70s crime drama Kojak. He also contributed music to
Murder, She Wrote, Magnum P.I., The Bionic Woman, and more.
His movies include Horror Express, Airport 77, and The Satanic Rites of Dracula. John died in 2014 at the age of 83. Peter, any thoughts on the instrumental music in Working Stiffs?
It's pretty serviceable. The only time it felt super intrusive was during the, of course, moment of shit, which in my notes I called the Full House moment, because it's doing that Full House thing where it's like, here's a moment where people talk about their feelings, and we're gonna have very loud, sad music, so you know to be sad.
That was the most intrusive music of the episode. Otherwise, this is very standard sitcom type music. The theme song for Working Stiffs is by New Jersey-born singer-songwriter Jack Carone.
Well, money is nice, but easily spent. Pretty soon we're just shaking our heads, wondering where it all went.
In addition to releasing a handful of singles in the 1960s and 70s, Jack wrote songs for numerous artists, including Mama Cass and John Travolta. One of his songs, Maybe It's All in My Mind, was used as the B-side to Flash Cadillac and the Continental Kids' top 40 hit, Did You Boogie With Your Baby? Since the 1980s, Jack has been an animal rights advocate. Peter, what did you think of the theme song for Working Stiffs?
It's hard not to compare it to the really iconic sitcom theme songs of the 80s and the 90s, like the stuff that you'd hear on TGIF. Unfortunately, it just doesn't really compare. It's no Standing Tall on the Wings of Our Dreams. It's no Whatever Happened to Predictability. I'm sorry.
Peter, I am going to have to give you a hard disagree on that one. I have had the theme song for Working Stiffs stuck in my head for the last 2 weeks. Da-da-da-da-da, you get up each day. That's what life's all about. I was actually encouraged to look up more of Jack Carone's music because of it. It reminds me a little bit of the theme song that John Sebastian came up with for Welcome Back, Kotter.
Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around.
I think it's a great theme and could have even been a hit with some more exposure. While preparing dinner at the end of the episode, Ernie says 1 meatball, 2 meatballs, 3 meatballs. He's having a little fun with the old standard 1 meatball, which is actually based on an older song called The Lone Fish Ball. The song is closely associated with 1940s blues musician Josh White.
1 meatball.
It's about a man so poor he can only afford 1 meatball.
Aww.
As for our cultural and historical references in this episode, when Ernie wakes up in the opening credits, we see an ad for Mistel Drops on the wall behind him. These were popular decongestants from the 1930s to the 1950s. The drops are long gone, but the advertisements for them have survived as collectibles. And I'm sure if they were taken off the market, there's probably something horrible about them.
Like one of those drugs that they used to prescribe to pregnant women, and then it turns out that they cause birth defects.
That's what I'm guessing happened to Mistel Drops. Ernie also wears a t-shirt that says Mayor Daley Campaign Team. This is in reference to Richard J. Daley, who was mayor of Chicago from 1955 to 1976. His son, Richard M. Daley, became mayor in 1989.
No, sir. Mayor Daley no longer dines here. He's dead, sir.
Ernie says that Uncle Harry promised his nephews jobs at Mike's first communion when Mike was 7. In the Catholic faith, children go through the sacrament of First Communion when they are about 7 years old. The church considers this the age of reason when children are old enough to realize what they are doing.
Now that's reasonable, isn't it?
That's part of a whole slew of Catholic jokes in this episode. I'm guessing that the O'Rourkes are traditional Irish Catholics.
Well, Mom light a candle for you, Uncle Harry. Don't worry about it.
Domine, please forgive Uncle Harry for not giving us a job.
I remember going through First Communion as a child. I was about 7 when that happened. And it was memorable. You get presents and stuff, so it's kind of fun.
Let the good times roll.
Mike and Ernie discuss whether a failure to keep a promise is a mortal sin. It is Catholic dogma that there are serious life-changing sins called mortal sins that can result in eternal damnation if not properly atoned for. Less serious sins are called venial. These are often so forgivable that merely showing up for church is enough. This American Life did a whole episode about mortal versus venial sins. If you really want to know about that topic, I would suggest listening to that episode.
A venial sin can turn into a mortal sin through sheer volume. That is, a not terribly serious offense can become a very serious one.
I was not exactly raised Catholic, but both of my parents were, and I did go to a Catholic school for 2 years, so I know some things about Catholicism firsthand.
Mike says new pope, new sins. Pope John Paul II had just taken office in 1978. 1979 was the first full year of his papacy. His predecessor, John Paul I, had lasted just 33 days before his death at age 65.
33 days. 33 days. We can't go on much longer.
For this reason, 1978 was known as the Year of 3 Popes.
Truly the William Henry Harrison of popes, he was.
Charles says that the building operates like a well-oiled machine, but that Mike and Ernie are engine knock and gooey sludge.
But right now, you two are engine knock and gooey sludge.
These are both problems that a poorly oiled engine might have. Engine knock, literally marked by a knocking sound.
Knocking!
Is caused by low-quality fuel burning unevenly or inconsistently. Sludge is caused when the oil is not changed regularly and the oil mixes with contaminants. Ernie says that maintenance is from the Latin for to maintain. He is actually not far wrong here. It does indeed come from the Latin, but it originates from the Latin phrase manutenere, meaning to hold in the hand.
You know what janitor means? What? It's from the Greek, to toilet clean. All right.
Despite what Mike says, janitor is not from the Greek for to toilet clean. It's actually Latin as well, and originally meant doorkeeper or porter. It derives from the Roman god Janus.
Oh, wow, Kermit, like I really don't believe this weird trip you're putting us on.
What's that, Janus?
Ernie and Mike debate which actor should play Charlie in the movie about his life and suggest James Caan or Warren Beatty, two of the most popular leading actors of the 1970s. In 1981, Jim Belushi really did star alongside James Caan in the crime thriller Thief, directed by Michael Mann.
Oh, gee, I'm sorry. Is this the movie Thief, music by Tangerine Dream? I don't think so.
Neither Belushi nor Keaton ever seems to have worked with Warren Beatty.
Well, that's too bad.
Beatty and Caan finally worked together in Dick Tracy. Of any of those actors that I just named, who would you have cast in a movie about Charlie Pressman or someone else?
Charles Grodin.
Wow, Grodin would knock it out of the park. Great choice. Charlie says he wants Ernie and Mike to regard this place as a Turkish prison. This is a reference to the 1978 film Midnight Express, in which an American student is sent to a brutal Turkish prison for trying to smuggle hashish out of the country.
His story is true. And his ordeal is so incredible, it will change you forever. The movie is Midnight Express.
By the way, that movie, according to the guy whose life it was based on, it's not very accurate. The entire light bulb changing scene is inspired by comedian Harold Lloyd in the classic 1923 comedy Safety Last. Well, this scene is one of the most famous in all of silent comedy. The complete movie went largely unseen for decades. It has now been fully restored to its original glory.
Well, that's a relief.
That clock is just one of many obstacles that Harold Lloyd encounters while trying to climb up the side of an office building in the film's conclusion. After the light bulb incident, Charlie says,
"From now on, this is Devil's Island."
He's referring to a French penal colony.
She said penal.
Located in the Salvation Islands off the coast of French Guiana. It operated from 1852 to 1952 and was known for its harsh treatment of prisoners and its high mortality rate.
I knew it was not a nice place to go.
Mike compares himself and his brother to Orville and Wilbur Wright, saying that Wilbur was the idea man and Orville was the doer.
Was his brother Orville that made him make the real plane? That's right. That's exactly right. See, he was the doer. Yeah?
This is a fairly accurate representation of the brothers' working relationship. Wilbur was considered the visionary of the two, while Orville was the mechanic, but their skill sets were complementary.
Wow, I did not expect Working Stiffs to have a pretty accurate summation of the Wright brothers.
Mike also wonders what paper airplanes were called before the Wright brothers' historic test flight in 1903.
I don't know if they were called airplanes.
These homemade toys date back to the 1800s and were originally called paper darts or paper flyers. And in case you were wondering, paper airplanes did help to inspire actual airplanes. It's not like the joke in A Mighty Wind where Jennifer Coolidge says,
"If they didn't have the model train, they wouldn't have gotten the idea for the big trains."
Did you make a lot of paper airplanes?
Whenever I did make them, they never turned out as well as I wanted them to, so eventually I just gave up.
So, Peter, were there any outstanding primetime fashions in Working Stiffs?
Lots of flannel. When you want to convey that a man is working class, put him in flannel. And there you have it.
So, Peter, I will ask that age-old timeless question. Was this pilot any good?
It's all right. I suspect that if it wasn't for the two leads going on to, again, do bigger and better things, this would have been almost entirely forgotten. I think that Belushi and Keaton go together better than the leads of Hey Landlord, but I do think that there is kind of a similar problem where there's not really a hook to their relationship, I feel like.
These two guys are pretty funny, and it's kind of entertaining to see them bumbling their way through their day, but I don't see any compelling reason to tune in week after week to watch what Ernie and Mike are up to. So I don't know that this was ever going to be a huge hit on the CBS schedule, but maybe they should have had longer than 4 weeks to figure it out, because maybe along the way they figured out something else that these two guys can do that would make the show more entertaining. I always think that when you start a sitcom, there are the kinds of stories that you think you're going to do, and then you cycle through those, and then along the way you may discover other kinds of stories that you want to tell, or you bring in other characters, and then those characters lead to other stories, or you see that certain dynamics work pretty well on the show. Who knows where this could have gone, but I think all things considered, it was probably for the best that this didn't go on longer than it did. I think this was probably a valuable experience for Jim and Michael, but working stiffs was pretty expendable. So, Peter, how can people keep up with us and find out about all the amazing things that we are still doing?
Listeners can follow us on Libsyn at thesedaysreours.libsyn.com.
And they can email us with questions, comments, and concerns at thesedaysreourspodcast@gmail.com. Now, the next time we get together, Peter, we are going to jump a little bit forward in history to the spring of 1980, when many of the people who worked on Happy Days worked on a feature film that has mostly been forgotten. It is called Leo and Laurie.
Leo and Laurie. It's a romance made not in heaven, but in Hollywood.
And it stars Don Most and Linda Pearl. It's directed by Jerry Paris. It's co-written by Ron Howard. And I think all Happy Days fans will be interested in it.
Oh boy, I'm excited.
You should be. It's a pretty exciting film. So see you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
Are you happy in your work? Do you never, ever shirk? Does your morning menu really send you on your way? Do you greet each day? And is it a deal, a real appeal? Feel you're earning your pay? Are you grateful you're alive? Is your day full, 9 to 5, living in the rhythm that I'm speaking of? You'll be happy in your work if you're in love.
What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it?